Good afternoon and good evening, everyone. My name is Danny Conforti, and I'm a certified financial planner here at Pathlight Advisors. Today, we're going to be discussing how to properly plan for retirement by outlining your goals and implementing strategies to put you on the right path. We're here as a resource for all of you, so please reach out to us if you have any questions or would like to set up a personalized meeting. A couple of topics we'll be focusing on include making a plan for retirement, how to effectively contribute to your retirement accounts, whether that's pre-tax or Roth, how much to save for retirement, ways in which to save practically, the challenges you'll face along the way, and the investment strategies you should be considering. Creating a roadmap for retirement can give you the confidence knowing that you're on track and doing the necessary things to achieve financial success. It's never too early to start planning, but it can eventually become too late. Retirement is a journey with a defined destination. If you're going to drive from Phoenix to New York, we need some directions to guide us on the most efficient path. There might be some construction and detours along the way, but you will get there eventually if you're following the map. Your retirement really is no different. Having a written plan can mean the difference between you having the option to eventually retire and you being forced to keep working through the later stages of your life. It's important to understand where your hard-earned money is going. Completing a budgeting worksheet such as this one can help uncover cash flows you didn't realize you had or point out weak areas of your budget that you can improve on. If anyone would like a copy of this fillable PDF, just shoot us an email and we'll get a copy over to you as soon as possible. There are several factors when considering using the pre-tax contribution method or the Roth contribution method. What is your tax bracket? How long is your time horizon for saving? Do you plan on working in retirement? Do you believe you'll be in a higher tax bracket during retirement? If you're not sure if you should be using the Roth option for your retirement saving strategy or just sticking with pre-tax, let us know and we can help determine the most optimal way for you to save. Top marginal tax rates have significantly declined from peaks of 90+% in the 1940s and 50s to 40.8% today. Despite high marginal rates, the effective tax rate for top 1% earners remains relatively stable around 22%. While marginal tax rates have fluctuated dramatically over the past century, effective tax rates have remained more consistent. This can be a highlight of the importance of understanding both figures for tax planning purposes and contribution purposes when it comes to determining whether you should be doing pre-tax or Roth, or perhaps a little bit of both. The decision to make a pre-tax deductible contribution to a traditional 401k or IRA or an after-tax contribution to a Roth 401k or Roth IRA is based on the income tax rate of the individual for the most part at the time of the contribution and the anticipated tax rate in the future when the withdrawals are taken. The difference in tax rates can be caused by an investor's personal situation and or tax policy over time. This chart here shows us a typical wage curve and the general rule of thumb about what type of contribution may be most appropriate based on current income and anticipated taxes in retirement. An additional consideration is to maintain a healthy mix of taxable, tax-free or Roth, and tax-deferred accounts to provide greater flexibility and control when managing income taxes over time. Exceptions listed on the bottom for situations in which contributing or converting to a Roth option should be carefully considered. Let's talk about the differences between pre-tax and Roth. Pre-tax we often refer to as traditional. Roth we often refer to as after-tax. These two contribution methods can apply to both 401ks and IRAs. I understand on the slide it says 401k, but this can also pertain to IRAs. When it comes to traditional pre-tax contributions, those dollars, those contributions are made before income taxes are withheld. Those contributions grow tax deferred, and in retirement, on distributions, you'll pay income taxes. I'll give you an example. If you make $50,000 and contribute $10,000 to your 401k on a pre-tax basis, that 10 grand goes in, grows tax deferred, and you pay income taxes down the road. You are getting a tax benefit for the year in which you contribute. So again, you make $50,000, you put 10 grand away into your 401k on a pre-tax basis, you're getting a tax deduction of the $10,000. So you're paying income taxes on $40,000 of income. Obviously, I'm oversimplifying this, but this is essentially how it works. And then again, 10 grand goes in and you pay taxes in retirement. So you're delaying the tax hit. It's almost like planting a seed and not paying taxes on that seed and waiting for the harvest to grow and paying taxes down the road when the harvest is fully grown. With Roth, contributions are made after income taxes are withheld. Your contributions grow tax-free, and in retirement, when you take distributions to supplement your income, you do not pay ordinary income taxes at that point. It's all tax-free. Same example, you make $50,000, you put 10 grand away into your 401k on a Roth basis, you do not get that same tax deduction for that year in which you contribute. So you're still paying income taxes on your $50,000 of income. However, that 10 grand goes into the account and it grows tax free. So when you're in retirement and you're taking distributions to supplement your income, you do not pay income taxes. So it really just depends in terms of how you should be contributing to your 401k or your IRAs. The primary determining factor, I would say, is figuring out what type of tax bracket you're in currently, how old you are, in other words, how much time do you have until you retire, your time horizon, and where do you expect to be in the future in terms of your retirement income and in terms of your retirement income bracket. Those are important things to recognize. If you're in a low income tax bracket now, and let's say you're in your 30s, it might be more advantageous to take a look at Roth, because you having a tax deduction isn't going to be as impactful as letting those funds grow tax-free over the next 30 plus years and perhaps being in a higher tax bracket in retirement than you are now. However, if you're in the peak of your earning potential during your career, and let's say you're in your 40s or 50s, your time horizon is shorter, you don't have as much time to take advantage of that tax-free growth, perhaps you can use that tax deduction now because you're in a high income tax bracket compared to where you'll be when you're 65 years old and perhaps you're living on a much lower fixed income. So a couple things to consider there. There's sometimes a benefit of using a little bit of both when it comes to pre-tax and Roth, sort of splitting those up. If you have questions on how to optimize this is why we're here to help. So please reach out and we can definitely make sure that we're guiding you on the right path and figuring out what the best way for you to contribute to your 401k and your IRAs is. When we think about the different sources of income in retirement, the primary two are going to be your Social Security benefit and your own retirement savings. The greater your pre-retirement income is, the less you'll be able to rely on your Social Security benefit and the more you'll have to rely on your own retirement savings. Now, this isn't us trying to say just because you make $30,000 or $40,000 right now doesn't mean you need to contribute to your 401k. We believe everybody should be taking advantage of contributing to their 401ks. But as you make more and more income and you progress your career and your earnings potential exceeds where it is now, it becomes more imperative that we're saving ourselves. We're not just relying on Social Security to replace our income in retirement. Sure, you can maybe get away if you're making $30,000 during your career, saving less, because around 60% of your income in retirement will be replaced by Social Security. However, if you are making $100,000, $150,000, $200,000 to your career, the less and less you'll be able to rely on that Social Security to replace that income. So the more you make, the more you have to save. So just keep that in mind. But again, we encourage everyone saving their 401k. It's a very important practice, and you can really set yourself up for success if you abide by those rules. For retirement income needs, the common rule of thumb is an 80% wage replacement ratio. Meaning, if you made $100,000 during your working years, you'll be able to maintain a similar lifestyle with $80,000 of retirement income. We can always help you calculate the amount needed in your nest egg and sort of do some backward calculations to figure out how much you need to be saving now in order to reach those goals. The best way is to just reach out to us. We can set up some time to kind of break down your income, break down your savings, take a look at your budget to really figure out what the ultimate goal is in terms of how much you need to have saved before you retire. Increasing your contributions each year can be an effective way to save more for retirement. This chart here shows 3 people who have a starting salary of $50,000 that increases with inflation and a 100% employer match capped at 5%. The saver, who contributes 3% during their career in blue, is left far behind. However, by leveraging an auto escalation feature, which most of you have in your 401ks, and if you don't, you can do this manually, by taking advantage of increasing that savings every year over time, starting at 3% and gradually increasing to 10%, the saver in green ends up not far behind the saver who contributes 10% consistently. This shows the power and value of escalating contributions each year. You may be able to take advantage of a tool in your 401k called auto escalation, which is what we just showed in the last slide, where your contributions will increase by 1% every year until you reach a certain limit. Depends on your 401k and how it's structured. You can turn this feature off and on at any time. So if you do have the option of auto escalation in your 401k, we highly recommend taking advantage of that. Here are a list of common record keepers that we work with. If you have any questions pertaining to making changes to your 401k, your contribution changes, getting online access to your account, changing your beneficiaries, oftentimes these record keepers can be of great assistance. They're very efficient. You can often reach out to them. They'll answer your phone call and you'll talk to a participant specialist who can really answer your questions and make sure you're all squared away. When in doubt, if you're confused on where to go, you can always reach out to us first and we can guide you in the right direction. Breaking down retirement savings into smaller chunks will help make everything a bit more manageable. Here we see a paycheck impact table that shows how increases in contributions can affect your take-home pay. Let's say you're making $40,000 and I ask you to contribute an additional 1% of your income to your 401k each year so that we are abiding by that incremental increase in savings over time. You might feel like that might be too much. Maybe you don't have the budget for it. You're not exactly sure if you can make that happen. With a $40,000 income, increasing your 401k contributions by a mere 1% has an impact on your take-home pay every 2 weeks of around $11.54. Nowadays, that's less than a trip to Chipotle for lunch on a Tuesday afternoon. So if you can sacrifice that mere 1%, that $11.54 every 2 weeks, it can really set you apart in the long run. I'm going to show you on the next slide here how that can really make a big impact in the long run. So when it comes to figuring out how much we're saving for retirement, the adjustments we need to make, breaking it down into bite-sized pieces can make things a lot more manageable. Like I mentioned before, the auto escalation feature in most of your plans can really help you to achieve a similar outcome such as this one. So I want to show you 2 participants in this example and where they started versus where they finished when it comes to retirement. We have two participants both earning $55,000 annually. They're both receiving a hypothetical rate of return in their 401k of 7%, which is very doable. They're starting at age 35, both of them, and they retire at age 67. The participant in the blue begins with saving 6% every year and does not increase their 401k contributions the entire 32-year time period. They end up with a balance of around $420,000. Participant in the red also begins at age 35, saving 6%. The difference is this participant increases their 401k contributions by 1% every year until they reach 12%. So having given up that $11 or $12 every 2 weeks, they end up with a balance of around $743,000 for that mere 1% increase annually. So again, might seem like a lot now, but over the long run, it's negligible compared to where you can be if you stayed with what you're doing now in most cases. Common rule of thumb: if you can't start saving 10% now, start with what you can save and increase those contributions over time by 1% annually, and you'll be in a much better spot. When it comes to saving and investing, we need to do our best at managing best practices. Saving and investing early and consistently over time is important for retirement success. This chart here compares different retirement outcomes based on various saving and investing behaviors of 4 hypothetical people. The consistent saver and investor reaches age 65 with substantially more than other savers. The early saver and investor saved only 1/3 of the amount of the late saver and investor, but because of the power of long-term compounding on money invested early, the early saver accumulates more saving than the late saver. The consistent saver in green saves as much and as often as the consistent saver in blue, but keeps saving in cash rather than investing it. As a result, the funds did not grow as fast, and the cash saver ends up with the least of the 4. During periods of extreme market declines, a natural emotional reaction can be to take control by selling out of the market and seeking safety in cash. This is due to what we call loss aversion, or the fact that losses hurt more than gains feel good. The results of this action can be devastating because during periods of market volatility, the best days are likely to occur close to the worst days. This chart compares an individual who was fully invested for the past 20 years in the S&P 500 to investors who missed some of the best days as a result of being out of the market for a period of time. Missing the top 10 best days reduced the annualized return by almost 50%. Missing the top 40 days resulted in a negative annualized return on the original $10,000 investment. Staying the course with a diversified long-term strategy may produce a better retirement outcome. It's also important to consider how your investments are allocated. Having a good mix of different asset classes can optimize your risk and returns over the long run by diversifying your portfolio. For a lot of you in your 401ks, you are automatically invested in a target date fund closest to your 65th birthday. Within these target date funds, the portfolios are already diversified to contain stocks, bonds, and a little bit of stable value. The further you are away from that target date for that fund, let's say you were born in the year 2000, so you would be invested in a target date fund 2065. The further you are away from 2065, the more aggressive your portfolio will be. which means the more equities you will hold in your portfolio. As you get closer and closer to that 65th birthday, your portfolio will automatically become more conservative and add more bonds to the mix. You don't have to do anything. The fund itself will automatically rebalance and become more conservative for you. So it's more of a hands-off approach. We typically recommend selecting a target date fund within your 401k can really simplify things for you as you get closer and closer to retirement. That's really when we want to start looking at being a bit more tailored, a bit more granular, a bit more constructive on how we're diversifying your portfolio and looking at other options. But early on in your career, as you're getting through your 30s and 40s, maybe even in the beginning of your 50s, being in a target date fund is often a reliable solution. Again, as we get closer to retirement, maybe past your mid 50s into your early 60s, that's when we perhaps want to be getting a little bit more tactical with how we're allocating your investments. This is essentially a breakdown of what I just explained with target date funds. The earlier in your career, your investment mixes lean more towards stocks, and as you get later into your career toward retirement, you begin to add more bonds to the mix, which can reduce your risk and overall keep you diversified while still maintaining some growth by having some stocks in the portfolio to outpace inflation over time. The longer you live, the longer you live. And the increased years you get for being a healthy non-smoker are significant. This chart shows the probability that a 65-year-old man and a 65-year-old woman today will reach various ages. The bottom part of the bars show life expectancy averages for the total population, while the top part of the bars show life expectancy for healthy non-smokers. Shown on the purple bars, half of the women will make it to at least 85, and more than half of female non-smokers in excellent health will pass age 90. Men are not that far behind, with 4 in 10 healthy non-smoking men expected to surpass age 90. So what this is really showing us is that we have to live perhaps 30 plus years in retirement. So yes, we want to be conservative in your retirement years when it comes to your portfolio allocation, but we also want to make sure we're not totally neglecting growth. We want to make sure we're maintaining a healthy equity position so that we outpace inflation over time and maintain your purchasing power, given the fact that we're perhaps going to have to live multiple decades in retirement and we're taking distributions potentially from those accounts. So we want to make sure that we're maintaining a proper rate of growth. Please don't hesitate to give us a call. Setting up a 10 to 15 minute meeting with an advisor can set you on the right path toward achieving your long-term financial goals by providing expert guidance tailored to your needs. Thank you all very much for taking the time to listen in. I hope you all have a wonderful evening.